so special that I can't possibly wear shoes in her presence,
How
right?
about that?
Yes.
I'll be right back. I'm going to see roses in there.
Why, thank you, darling. I truly appreciate
Do you
it.
need any garlic to plant?
Yes. Is that what you got in that box? Yes. Thank you. Garlic.
You don't.
Marshall, there's another one.
Oh.
And just
Separate the cloves.
Yeah.
Thank you, darling. Are we recording? We're recording. Hi. I make them.
I don't know because this is going right. I shall return. Go ahead.
All right, darling.
So if you want to help me,
Oh goodness. Okay. So I have a spinning wheel here, but I also have a drop spindle that I've been practicing with. And basically I've spent the morning spinning singles of yarn, and I'm now applying them together to make actual yarn that's usable for crochet or knitting or whatever. Yeah. Edit this out, Daryl.
what do you start with?
Actually, I could tell you the whole process here. So, this is a bag of wool, and it looks really dirty, but it's actually been washed once. And the washing takes all of the oily lanolin out of the fleece. And then once it's at this point, I have it laid out to dry so that it dries completely, and then I will start pulling the sections of fiber out like this, and I'll just pick little bits of the dirt and debris out of it. And this is a really tedious process, I'll just say. And this one specifically, because this one was really dirty. But I would pick all of the dirt out of it, and then I would fluff it up, and then I would put it on a machine called a drum carder. And the drum carder actually lines up the fibers, and it helps pull out some of the dirt, and it lines them up like this, so that makes it really nice and pretty. And it lines all the fibers up together so that I can spin it on the spinning wheel. And so if this weren't already plied yarn, if this were a single here, I would put it on and I would spin it clockwise, and that would basically spin it into a thin single, which is what I have down here. And then once I have the bobbins filled how I want them, I put them on this thing called a Lazy Kate and ply them together to make an actual yarn. And so what you're seeing on here is actual yarn, and this can be used to crochet or knit with and make cool projects.
How long does it take you to make enough yarn?
To do something? It actually just depends. To make a hat, for example, could I see that top skein right there? This right here would be enough to do a hat, and I would probably still have a little bit left over. You could do a hat or fingerless gloves or something like that. This is basically 2 full bobbins plied together. And so depending on how easy the fiber is to process, it could take me anywhere from a couple of hours to a few days. So, and also if it's a fiber that's like a pale color or a natural color like browns or creams or whites or whatever, they seem to take a little bit longer because it's more tedious. You know, it's kind of like work that you have to do. But if it's fiber that's colored, like this one right here, I just spun this single up a little bit ago. It took me maybe 15 minutes to do. So I actually use, it's called an acid dye, but the acid is actually just vinegar. So, you know, it's dye powder. You can actually use natural-based products too. Like I was just talking to the gal inside, and she does pokeberries. which is a weed out here. It's just a wild thing that grows, but it has these really pretty little purplish red berries. And she uses it to dye with, and it makes this really beautiful rosy color. So it's really nice. But you can use a lot of different things. Like you could use black walnut to make a nice brown dye, and that would be a natural way to do it. It's very pretty.
I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but this one's
Oh, the gold sparkle.
got gold sparkle in it.
Yes. So that is alpaca fiber, but it has gold thread spun in with it. So I took the single of alpaca like this, and then I took a little spool of gold thread and I applied them together instead of 2 strands of alpaca, and that's how it made the gold thread. So, and then I've also been showing off how to do the drop spindle, and that one's kind of fun too. This one's a much older version of spinning than the spinning wheel is, and basically it's the same process, but as you can see it takes a lot longer to do, but it's more portable, so there's that. And then once you get it up a little bit, you just unwind it here and wrap it around here. And I've been working on this one for a little bit. But basically this right here is the bobbin, so it's kind of interrelated. And then I actually have with me, let me grab it here. This is called a Navajo spindle, and this is actually, in the U.S. as a country, this is actually one of the oldest styles of spinning in our country. And so the Navajo Indians, which is where it gets its name, Navajo spinning, they would take it and they would just wrap it across their leg like this, and that would help put the twist in it. And then once you got it twisted up a bit, so like that, then you would take it and you would twist it onto your post. And this one would take a lot longer. This was really a tedious process. But there's a lady on YouTube, she's an elder lady and a Navajo, and she can spin so fast using this. I mean, she just really goes to town with it and makes the most beautiful yarn, and it's just incredible. And I'm actually not as good with this one as I am the others, so if it breaks. There we go. And then set it up, whoops, and spin it on.
So you can actually make an endless length of yarn.
I can make an endless length of yarn. I mean, especially with this, like with the bobbins, I mean, they're kind of limited by the amount of space that's on here. Right. But with this, I mean, I could fill that bugger up out to here, so I could put a few thousand yards on this before it even became an issue for me. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. Of course, it would take a while, but yeah, I mean, it really is limitless.
It's all freeze dried, but I make chicken salad.
Oh, you made?
Yeah, it is good.
I guess you got about a
And I broke it.
got about a 5-minute summary on yard spinning. So now
Yeah,
everybody knows how to do it.
absolutely. And we'll be starting a series of how to do yarn spinning, the basics of wool processing, as well as the basics of yarn spinning on our YouTube channel.
You sell parts?
To the spinning wheels,
Yeah, for spinning wheels. I mean,
we sell the little
you a
drop
dealer?
spindles. No, not by any means. We sell the little drop spindles that we make ourselves, and we sell the Navajo spindles that we make ourselves. Matthew actually made these. He's really good. But we sell these, but when it comes to an actual spinning wheel, that's a little more in depth, and we let the professionals handle that. So we actually had, just a little bit ago, a few kids that were here, and they were learning how to spin with the drop spindle.
now, I've seen some other, I'm going to say other styles.
Oh, there are dozens of styles. The pioneers actually used what was called the Great Wheel, or the walking wheel. And it was this massive wheel. I mean, most of them all have a wheel, but this wheel was this big. Yeah, huge wagon wheel. And it has a long plank with feet that it stands on. And as you're spinning, with this one, I'm sitting in front of it and it's pulling it onto this bobbin. But with the Great Wheel, you're standing there and you're spinning the wheel yourself by hand, and you're dragging the draw out, and it's called a long draw. And as you're dragging it, you're walking backwards closer to the back end of the wheel. And then once it's twisted in, you walk in and it's pulling it back in. And so you're doing this continuous tug and go, tug and go. And that's crazy.
But the end product's the same.
End product's the same. End product's the same. And there are a lot of different, these are what we call compact spinning wheel. There are a lot of different styles and varieties of them too. This one's a 2-pedal, but there's 1 pedal, there's side pedals, and it's all basically on what your preference is. So, and some of the wheels have different moving mechanisms. Some of them have what they call different gear ratios, the speeds that they spin. Like this one here, it has 2 of these things that are called a whirl, and each groove is basically a different gear. So if you think about gears in the car, you know, your first, second, and third gears, the bigger one would be like first, then second, then third, then fourth. You get the idea. And it just helps us go from slower to faster. So a beginning spinner could use this wheel, and they could put it on the bigger whirl, and it would go slower for them so it doesn't pull the yarn out of their hands. Whereas an experienced spinner wants it to pull faster because they're feeding it faster. So they can change the whirl out so that it goes faster or slower. Yeah. So it's actually a lot of fun, and it's really relaxing too. I mean, it may not seem like it. It may seem kind of, you know, like busy work, but I can set this thing down somewhere. We're sitting having a conversation or watching TV. I can just be plugging along and I don't even think about it anymore. So, and then when I look up, I say, oh yeah, I've got my yarn done.
So, Family Homestead, there you go.
Yes, thanks.